Hello and welcome to Long Beach Lens. I'm your host, Derek J. Simpson, Executive Director of the Long Beach Community Action Partnership. Today's guest documents his plant-based travels and shares them on social media. Please join me in a very interesting conversation welcoming Matthew Ayer,
Hey.
as in the air,
Yep.
known as the Veggie Pilot.
That's me.
Right.
Yeah.
The Veggie Pilot. There's so much to discuss, man.
Yeah.
But as we were sitting here preparing for the show, you gave me even more interesting insight about your family story and your story. So let's
Yeah.
start at the beginning,
Okay.
and then we'll move into the Veggie Pilot and other things that you're doing.
Okay.
So you mentioned your family. Tell us about that story.
Right. Okay. So a big thing too, right? Because Veggie Pilot's all vegan, which we'll get into. My family is lacto-vegetarian, so I grew up that way.
Okay.
So lacto-vegetarian is you don't eat meat, chicken, fish, or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
You do drink milk and egg, but you don't. I mean, you drink milk and cheese, but you don't eat egg. So that's lacto-vegetarian. So I grew up like that. So I have a long history of plant-based diet. And essentially what I was going to tell you about is just something that was kind of formative in me growing up to where I am now was something that happened during the big economic recession, 2008, 2009 time. I had been laid off from flying. I was a flight instructor down in Florida.
Okay.
And right about that time, and I was laid off because of the economic recession, and right about that time, we ended up losing our family home. And I was working as a busboy at the time, and it was kind of a desperate time for my family. And because my dad had a history in construction, we decided to go out to Dubai to kind of try to find him work and start over and see if we could recoup the loss, because we were essentially left just with nothing.
And the whole family moved to Dubai?
The whole family moved.
Wow, that's quite a move.
Quite a move, right. And it was very quick and very just right there in the moment. Right. It was kind of a split-second decision. And so we moved out there, and we lived out there for a year and a half, kind of rebuilding a little bit and just getting through this like really tumultuous time in our lives. My dad was out looking for jobs with construction. My mom was teaching English at a local school, and I was doing these part-time promotion jobs.
Okay. But no
Dubai.
flying at that time?
No flying.
Okay.
I had this idea to get on with maybe Emirates Airlines at the time, but I didn't meet their requirements for experience.
Okay.
So we did that for about a year and a half, lived very humbly, and then I went out to Afghanistan and took a flying job out there. I lived out there for 6 months. That was a really interesting time as well. A lot different from Dubai, obviously. Lived out there for 6 months and yeah, had a lot of adventures and saw a lot of things. And you know, I grew up a lot from that time period because the instability of life at that time. You know, I'd lost everything. We were kind of living month to month, week to week almost, and you know, being in that new culture and new environment really, you know, anytime you go into a new culture and everyone's different from you, it really forces a lot of self-introspection, because you're really aware of yourself. You're really aware of your personality and how it's kind of like agreeing or disagreeing with the current culture you're in.
Right. And when you're talking cultural differences in Dubai or Afghanistan, we're talking major differences. It's not like coming from Florida or Alabama to California. We're talking about everything from language to religion to
everything
about life.
You know, Dubai isn't such a shock as, say, maybe moving to Tokyo, because Dubai is mainly English speaking, and everyone living in Dubai, I think only the local population only makes about something like 20% of the actual total population. Everyone else is from other places. So I had a lot of different friend groups. I had one friend group from North Sudan, so like the Arab side of Sudan. I had one whole group of Nigerian friends. I had one group of Filipino friends, some Italian friends who had grown up in Kenya. I dated a girl from Tunisia. I dated a girl from Romania. So it was really like just this wide variety of, and these people from there, it's not like they were born in Dubai and lived there. It was like a year ago or so they were living in their home country. So they're very much that culture.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because of that, you really, you know, like I said, that's what I mean. You know, you're around this different culture, and it's not like the American sarcasm necessarily like plays well. People don't understand that. You know,
Right.
I was a naturally sarcastic person, so that was something that kind of evolved in my personality. You know,
So you grew as a person and as
definitely,
a man.
yeah,
In
definitely,
addition to, it sounds like expanding in terms of your career choices as well.
yeah.
As being a pilot, because flying in Afghanistan, I would imagine, made you stretch yourself as well.
Yeah, that was so. Unfortunately, we didn't get to fly. We were out there for 6 months, and the company had all these problems with money. But for those 6 months, we were living out there. I was going to the office 5 days a week, and just helping out with paperwork and kind of making myself useful to help collect the checks. But the cool thing about Afghanistan, so Dubai and Afghanistan. They both follow this Islamic law of no taxes. So in Afghanistan, at the end of the month, we'd go to this little back office, and there'd be a guy there with our pay. And so I was making $3,000 a month. Not a lot, but he would just sit there and with $100 bills right in your hand.
money,
and some of the other American guys were making like 10 grand, 12 grand a month.
Wow.
And so they're getting that, you know. I have no idea how they got that
So
money
you have
back
to
to
walk,
the States.
yeah, exactly, or how they got out of there without somebody following them home. So you got Dubai, Florida, then Dubai, then Afghanistan, and now I hear you live in Long Beach.
Yeah, Long Beach. So I've been in a lot of places. Before even Florida, I had been in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, then Florida, Dubai, Afghanistan. Then I moved back to Massachusetts, then back to Florida, then Minneapolis, Denver, lived in Phoenix, San Diego, back to Denver, and then LA.
Okay.
So I've been in a lot of places.
You have.
Yeah.
Talk about cultural shifts.
Yeah, cultural shifts. Instability is a theme in my adult life, I guess, you know. So
what made you make the decision to move to Long Beach after all of that?
So I have been living in LA for 3 years now, and lived in Redondo Beach for a while, and then El Segundo. I really liked Long Beach for the reason that it's very walkable. It's got cool culture, cool food scene, and it's close to a beach that's really good for surfing, which is, you know, Huntington or Newport or anything. And surfing is one of my big hobbies. I'm not great at it, but I do it a lot for exercise. And you know, I just wanted to be able to walk places and not drive. Because this last year I'd been living in El Segundo, and I was just driving everywhere to go do things, you know, downtown and Highland Park and Pasadena and the West Side. And so it's nice to just kind of, I come back from work for a week and I just park my car and try to drive as little as possible.
Now, speaking of work, I read this quote. It says, "I created Veggie Pilot because I had a feeling that there were other pilots and flight attendants out there who were vegan, vegetarian, and I wanted to help with meal ideas."
Yeah. So Veggie Pilot, for those at home, is a blog that I created. I'm a vegan airline pilot, and it initially started because I had already been a vegetarian for forever, and I was already working at my previous airline, which was way more grueling and way more long hours and everything, like way less conducive to living on any sort of diet. And I had been doing the vegetarian diet there. And so I wanted to see if there were other vegan, vegetarian pilots and flight attendants out there. I was curious. I was sure there were some. So I did a quick Google search one day, and nothing came up. There was one post on this forum called Airline Pilot Central where someone had asked, hey, is it possible to be a vegan airline pilot? And a bunch of answers were like, no, it'd be too difficult, it wouldn't work. So I thought, well, there should be something on Google so that when someone Googles that, it pops up and saying, hey, it's possible, someone's doing it. You know, I wanted to do that service for others, not because I wanted to change anyone's mind or convince anybody. I'm not like that.
But just make the information available.
Make the information available so that either a pilot who wants to go vegan or a vegan who wants to become a pilot know that it is possible. So it started with a simple web page called veggiepilot.com. I just put a couple recipes on there. I didn't have my picture or face or anything. From there, I started making videos just for fun. You know, I liked the idea of making videos and editing it. It was very creative artistically.
Right.
So I made a review for the Beyond Burger when it just came out, and I put it on Facebook for my friends, and everybody liked it. So hey, I'll start doing this. Pretty soon I had a Veggie Pilot Facebook page, and I started posting the videos on there.
Okay.
And they were getting a little, some viewership, and the numbers were growing. And then pretty soon I started doing these videos where on layovers, I'd get the other pilot and the flight attendants, and we'd go and try a vegan restaurant and react to it, and see what their reaction, because they're not vegan.
Okay.
And those were really popular. One of them got like 20,000 views in a day or something like that.
And I hear you have 20,000 followers on Instagram.
On
right?
Instagram, yeah. So, and then I shifted over to Instagram, where I just started showing off the vegan meals that I was having on the road, and that's grown immensely. And it's gotten a lot of, I've gotten a lot of notoriety because of it.
Now,
so.
in airports, like, do you fly like here locally out of LAX mostly?
Yeah, LAX, but I fly all over,
right?
Essentially.
Do you find that the airports are getting more options?
There are. Airport food is improving immensely since when I started this career, which is awesome, because airport food traditionally is really low quality, high priced, and like small portions, and just really unhealthy.
Right.
And so now you're starting to see a lot of stuff pop up that's way better for people.
What about in-flight? Are you finding that any in-flight options are becoming available?
Yeah, I have the stuff with my airline. I don't eat our in-flight meals just because I always pack food for myself.
Right.
So I'm not paying super close attention to that, but I've definitely noticed there are vegan meals, and when you fly the big guys, we're just a regional, so they kind of have it. But I'm sure if anyone requested a vegan meal, there'd be a vegan meal on there for them.
So there is hope, and things are starting to
change
a little bit.
There's a consciousness shift here in the United States, especially towards healthier eating and plant-based diet.
We're already out of time for this first segment,
okay.
So I got so much to ask you when we come back. So hold on to those thoughts. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we will continue our conversation with Matt Ayer. Air,
there you go.
Stay tuned for more of Long Beach Lens.
Cool.
This is Helga, the housekeeper, and I want to talk to you about my best friend Lola. We met as young gals when we were both cleaning the same home. We had so much in common: men, booze, and parties. This was long before HIV, and all we had to worry about was STDs, getting Praegers, and crabs. We both got the last one. But here we are, 40 years later, and still going strong. Now, a few months ago, I was visiting Lola in her apartment, and I was having a little GI problem. And I don't mean the military kind. Lola and I always loved a man in uniform. No, it was the kind that involves the restroom. I excused myself, and it was not pleasant. When I came out, I told her, "Honey, you may not want to go in there for a while." Lola laughed. She said, "I have to show you something." She runs to the kitchen and comes out with a can, sprays some in the air. What a delicious smell! It was heaven. "What's the name of that?" I asked. She said, "Funk Off." Lola said it's good for all kinds of situations besides the loo. The kitchen when cooking cabbage, the garage area when the trash takes a turn, and her favorite use, her boyfriend. I screamed, "Your boyfriend?" "Oh yes," she said, "sometimes he comes over for a quick smooch, and he can reek a barnyard." She said, "A quick spritz of Funk Off, and we're ready to go." I said, my, I love you, Lola. I can't live without you or Funk Off. Busted cherry is my favorite scent. This is Helga saying bye-bye for now.
Hey, this is Lamp Alumni.
And you're watching Batman TV. Hey.
back. I'm Derek J. Simpson, and we're having a great conversation here with Matt Ayer, and he's also known as the Veggie Pilot. But in addition to your world travels and being the Veggie Pilot, there are a couple of other passions that you have that I want to make sure we get in before we get back to talking about being the Veggie Pilot. And one is the pet rescue effort that you're very passionate about. Tell us a bit about that, and we have a few photos to share as you're talking about it.
Sure. Yeah. So I do a lot of animal rescue volunteer work. I was working pretty closely with this organization that rescues dogs from the Chinese slaughterhouse meat trade. So they actually bring dogs from China out to California. They give them whatever medical attention they need, and then we'll get them adopted out, which is really awesome. And that was called Animal Hope and Wellness by Mark Chang. And then since then, I worked with this organization called WUFA. It's Women United for Animal Welfare. It's these three women that run it, and they do various rescue efforts. They set me up with, they had some pigs coming in from Puerto Rico after the hurricane. Not only was there human relief needed, but there's animals that were left homeless, tons and tons, horses, pigs,
Which people
dogs.
often don't think about.
They don't think about.
Disasters.
Yeah, they don't think about, which is, thousands of animals.
Right.
And so they brought these three pigs over, and I picked them up from the airport one night, and I set them up on my patio, and it was an interesting night,
I'm sure
they were really fun and really afraid of me, but it was cool, I hadn't really spent much time around pigs, and I love seeing animals that you wouldn't normally see, and so now they're at an animal sanctuary north of LA. I forget the name of it now, but they're living pretty happily there and stuff.
So that's a passion, and you're doing that from a humanitarian perspective. But also, I know in the community, as we were talking during the break, you mentioned another effort that you're passionate about and working with a fellow nonprofit, which is the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah, I really love the Boys and Girls Club. I think that is a super invaluable thing to any community, especially ones with maybe like poorer demographics. For people who don't know what the Boys and Girls Club is, it's an after-school and summer program for kids. Gives them a very healthy, warm environment to spend their time when they're not able to be with their parents. They do homework help. They provide them meals, and they have gym time and computer lab and arts and crafts. So it's a really great environment for kids to help them. So
no, they do great work, and we collaborate with them off and on throughout time in our local community. So it's great to hear that people like you are supportive.
Yeah.
I want to get back to being the Veggie Pilot, because I wonder, in traveling and being locally here, what do you find to be some of the most challenging aspects of being vegan? Is it the access to the food? Is it the quality of the food? Is it?
Well, Los Angeles is kind of like a, it's kind of like an outlier as far as what it's like to live in a city and be vegan. LA, I think any really major city is being vegan is substantially easier because there's more vegan restaurants and there's probably a bigger community. When you go to these smaller towns, I remember one year I was for Christmas I was in Liberal, Kansas, and we're stuck there in a snowstorm for my airline, and that city is small, and I think I ate like 3 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches that day. So, if there's vegan spots available, good. But, at this point, it's not overly challenging to be vegan, I think, especially here in LA,
What about in Long Beach? Do you have like favorite spots?
I really love Seabird's.
Yeah.
Seabird's Kitchen's a staple. Wild Chive is a pop-up that happens. Chef Susie puts that on. They do like these amazing grilled cheese, like loaded grilled cheese sandwiches with like avocado and all that. It's phenomenal.
When you mention those two, what makes them favorite? Is it because of the quality, or is it because of the creativity?
Seabird's is particularly creative. They do dishes. So what's really cool about eating at vegan restaurants is you'll get that restaurant's take on whatever meat dish, right? So they'll be like, okay, well, for example, Seabird's Kitchen has a meatballs pizza. right?
Meatless meatballs.
Meatless meatballs. The thing is, it doesn't use traditional soy meatballs, which you can buy in the store. They use these like fennel and all these random flavors where if you list it out on a piece of paper, you'd be like, I don't understand how that's going to taste like a pizza. Never mind a meatball pizza. But they're able to create it, and it comes together in a way that's, you get the experience of pizza. And it's really good too. And so that's why vegan restaurants are really exciting to go to, because it's such a like new take on food, and it's really a lot of unexplored territory in a lot of ways, you know. So each vegan restaurant has its own particular experience. Wild Chive comes together, you know, Chef Susie makes these vegan dishes, these breakfast dishes that are exactly what you'd want on vegan brunch, or just brunch in general. It's kind of heavy and really comfort food and so tasty, and you want to take a nap after you eat it. And that's like not something common towards
Yeah, Harmony mentioned as you're talking that, you know, you also have to be mindful that sometimes people will tell you maybe the content between the sandwich is vegan, but they fail to tell you that the bread isn't, or certain elements. So if someone is trying to be true to the vegan diet, are there tips that you would suggest as to how they go about asking the right questions or going to the right places?
Yeah, and that'll come with experience. You know, it's not like there's hidden dangers in every step, but you know, like Harmony said, the bread can have egg in it, or they might be using milk or something like that. If you're getting Mexican food, the beans might be cooked with lard, the rice might be cooked with chicken stock. So there are like kind of hidden
questions,
yeah, so that's kind of something you got to learn as you go along. But you'll get to the point where you do it long enough, you kind of just recognize. You're like, well, what about that? You know?
Because I have a friend that's gluten intolerant.
Gluten-free,
that's a whole different element, because it's more of something that you have a bad reaction physically to, as opposed to vegan. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No,
it's
absolutely.
more of a preference that
it's a preference. So you accidentally eat some meat, and you know, you might be kind of upset, but hey, no big deal. Whereas someone who's gluten-free, if they, you know, are celiac, they eat something with gluten in it, they'll have a reaction. So
now, in everything that we do, though PADNET is a program of Long Beach Community Action Partnership, our mission is to help families that are low income and moving towards self-sustainability. So my question to you is, this all sounds great, but if I'm, you know, a mom, single mom with kids, or living in, you know, maybe it's one of the Boys and Girls Club family profiles, and you're talking about eating vegan, it's like, man, we just want to get a healthy meal. What are you saying? Is it a challenge, I guess is my question?
That is a great question, Derek. I'm very happy you answered that.
That's why I got this job.
So yeah, I can see that I'm dealing with a great mind here.
Not
All
great.
right, so.
Confident mind, not great.
No, well, that's a great question. I'm very happy you answered that, because I eat beans and rice more than I eat anything else. I think beans are nature's perfect food. The reason for that is, besides just how they make me feel, which is subjective, objectively they have so many benefits to them. One of the benefits beans has that no other real fruit or vegetable or even food out there has is that if you eat a bunch of sugar in the morning, let's say you go out and get pancakes and eat a bunch, the beans and legumes will actually stabilize your blood sugar and keep it stabilized for the rest of the day. So if you're having blood sugar problems, legumes are your friend. And they'll do that even if you plan to eat sugar later, you eat beans in the day. So, and besides that, they have iron, they have tons of vitamins, they're protein rich, they have carbohydrate. Beans and rice is one of my favorite dishes. I could eat it every day, all day. It's also extremely cheap and affordable and easy to make in bulk. Right? You want to cover dinner for the week, just, you know, cook a bunch of rice, cook a bunch of beans. You can flavor them with vegetables, and a little salt and pepper goes a long way. And boom, you have an outstanding meal for later in the week, and it's good. You know, you can add a little hot sauce on top for that extra flavor, and it's easy. You can make a week's worth of food for $8 between rice and beans and a couple of veggies. So, and there's other stuff like that out there. You know. So
we're almost out of time.
Sure.
And I want to ask you, with all that we've discussed, you've got, you know, the website that you've created to help inform people. You've got Facebook, you've got Instagram to help keep people in touch with outreach such as what you're doing right now. What would you like to see going forward with the brand that you've created as the Veggie Pilot?
Veggie Pilot, I would very much like to turn into a charity money-making machine. So I have my career, which I'm very fortunate to have. I make a sufficient income from that. If I can do one thing for Veggie Pilot is to make it meaningful in a way that it's able to generate revenue and bring attention to causes that I think are important. So I do t-shirt campaigns to raise money for the Boys and Girls Club in Harbor City, where all the profit I make goes directly to the Boys and Girls Club, and I'll pay tax off that profit. And then I do different fundraisers for animal rescues and whatnot. So I just want it to be a charity machine. I want it to be a very positive thing in the world. So.
And if people want to be a part of that positive initiative that you've created, they would just go to your website?
Yeah, they can buy a t-shirt. I think the biggest impact that anyone can make is just put their own personal time into volunteering for something they believe in.
Right.
I think that is the most invaluable thing you can do.
And in hearing that you're a pilot, I think also, again, thinking through the lens of the youth that we serve, that's something that's attainable no matter how much money you have or don't have as a child. If it's something you want, you can go for it.
If it's something you want, you can definitely do it. Yeah, it's very attainable. Anybody can do it, and it's a great career to get into.
Right, and see the world.
Yeah, and see the world. You get to travel, exactly. So.
Wow, you've been fun.
Thank you, Derek.
And I appreciate you coming in.
Yeah.
And we're going to add our name to that list of followers that you have.
Oh, very cool.
And keep us in mind. And
yeah.
as you progress in your efforts, please let us know how we can help get the word out there, especially because you're doing things that not only help with what you're doing professionally, but what you're doing in the community.
Excellent.
And that's always important to us.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank Matthew Ayre again and for joining us and being so informative on today's show. Be sure to follow PadNet TV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest updates. We also welcome your comments and thoughts regarding this show as we strive to make Long Beach Lens a favorite source of local news, information, and entertainment. This show has been brought to you with support from the Long Beach Community Action Partnership. Thank you for watching Long Beach Lens.